All right, guys, so I just wanted to make a quick video to overview what you will be working on for your data analysis project on the days that I am out. So I have a very detailed overview and rubric as part of this assignment sheet that's linked on Canvas along with this video. But I just wanted to emphasize a couple of points that you won't be able to really ask about when I'm gone. The due date you'll see is Monday, April 19th, that morning. So you do not need to submit this until I've returned, and you will have the opportunity to ask questions. However, the only class time that you will be provided with to work on this is while I am out. Okay? So the bulk of what this project entails will be you researching some sports data. And I recognize that sports isn't everybody's thing, but it's a developing realm of statistics. It's becoming sports and statistics are becoming very ingrained with one another. And a lot of people, it does interest them. So, that being said, at least for this assignment, I would like you to pick a team in any sport that is of interest to you. And we're gonna do two parts with this study. The first part, you are going to test to see if there is a home field advantage in that sport for that particular team. So what you're gonna do is find 30 seasons worth of data for any team in any league, NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL, NBA, etc. You probably want to watch out and avoid COVID seasons. One, because they're probably not typical seasons, and two, a lot of times they're not being played in front of fans, which directly impacts that home field advantage. So something to consider here, and part of what we're working towards is being able to use our tests of significance. You're testing to see if there's a significant difference between a team's record at home and their record on the road. So one of the conditions for that is taking a random sample. And you want to take a random sample of the team's record going back as far as you can obtain data for that team. Okay. Now, this is open. You can find this data wherever you want. I will kind of point you in a direction that for a lot of these leagues and a lot of these teams, this website, sportsreference.com, is very helpful and very useful. Pick your favorite team, but I will say that some of these sports are easier to work with than others. And some of the data is easier to find for some teams and some sports than others. Like, for example, the NFL, well, until next season, they only play 16 regular season games, 8 at home and 8 on the road. So those numbers are very manageable. However, a lot of times you don't see the data presented as number of wins at home and number of wins on the road, as opposed to Major League Baseball, where they play a lot more games, 162 games in a typical season, 81 at home, 81 away. And a lot of times these websites will provide a home and road split. So make a decision. I'm not trying to encourage you or discourage you from choosing particular teams or particular sports. I want you to do something that's of interest to you. But don't be discouraged. That data is out there. You just need to find it. All right. So what you are going to do is follow these directions. You are picking some test of significance. Okay. Now this can be a 1 or 2 proportion z-test, or it could be a 1 or 2 sample t-test, depending on how you're going to answer this question of does a home field advantage exist. Okay? You can look at winning percentages. and use that as a proportion. You could also look at average values. So really, any of these tests are possible, but think about how you can collect and present this data in a way that's meaningful and conclusive. The second part of this, I want you to pick some other statistic rather than home field advantage. Okay, you can be looking at test to see if you have a significant majority of something. You could be comparing some measure like goals that the Penguins score in this season compared to goals that the Flyers score, well, not in a particular season, but for the last several seasons and average them out. Or you could look at the average number of like points per player on the Penguins versus points per player on the Flyers to test to see if there's a significant difference. I mean, you can take this in a number of different directions. There's mountains of data that are available to you. Find something that's meaningful to you and go with it. Okay? See if you can use statistics to answer a meaningful question that you have. Okay? So again, follow along with this, these steps here and what your final product looks like. I want you to have both parts 1 and part 2, and you're going to make a Google Slides presentation. And make sure that you're following along with this rubric as to what I want to see. Okay, you're talking about your questions, set up the hypotheses, find the test statistic, the p-value, okay, what is your conclusion, provide a confidence interval, okay, and also relate that confidence interval back to the hypothesis test. Okay, what does that mean in the context of this problem? Okay, that's important about statistics as a whole. You don't end by saying, here's my p-value. Instead, you conclude, you wrap up by answering that question that you originally presented. So follow along with this rubric as you are starting to create this project. Back at the top here, you are welcome to work with one other person if you'd like. You do not have to. That person can be in school, that person can be remote. If you want to collaborate through Google Meet, that's fine. If you're both remote, that's fine too. But each person is going to submit his or her own, well, I mean, you'll work on it together. You'll submit the same product, but you each need to submit through your own Canvas assignment, okay? Let's see, what else? On the bottom here, make sure that you are sharing that Google slide presentation with me, okay? I've had people submit it through Canvas, but they don't grant me access to view it, okay? Then I have to hunt you down and find that. Please make sure in the settings, the sharing settings, that you make it visible to me. I also would like you to include the link to your raw data that you are going to collect in Google Sheets. Okay? Your analysis you can do with the calculator, you can do it with GeoGebra, and you may want to include some screenshots of that in your presentation. In fact, I encourage you to, but I would like you to have a link of your raw data that's just pasted into Google Sheets, and make sure that you share that link with me as well. Okay? This is our biggest project of the year to date, 60 points. So you need to stay on top of this. This is not something that you can just ignore. This is what you will be working on the days that I am out. Okay, so stay on top of this. If you have any questions as you're working, talk to your classmates. If that can't get answered, then I will be available to answer some questions once I return. So make note of those questions, and then keep this ultimate due date in mind of Monday, April 19th. All right, I hope you guys had a good, or will have a nice break, and I'll see you shortly. Bye.